Once upon a time, in the vast African plains, there was a young zebra named Zara. Zara was like any other zebra, with her black and white stripes running across her body, forming unique and beautiful patterns. She lived in a happy and close-knit herd, where every day was full of adventures and explorations. However, there was something different about Zara, something that deeply troubled her, and that no one else seemed to notice. Since she was little, Zara had an obsession with her stripes. Every morning, before joining the herd, she spent hours looking at them, making sure they were perfectly aligned. If she noticed any irregularity, she became extremely anxious. Zara felt compelled to rub her stripes against trees or roll in the dust, trying to somehow fix what she thought was wrong. This repetitive behavior began to take over her days, becoming an exhausting and solitary routine. While her friends ran freely through the savannah, Zara lagged behind, trapped in her own world of worries. She wanted so much to join them, but her fear that something was wrong with her stripes was greater than her desire to play. The other animals began to notice her withdrawal, but did not understand the reason. Zara felt isolated, misunderstood, and this only increased her frustration. As each day passed, the weight of this obsession became more unbearable. Zara began to question if she could continue like this, if she would ever find peace with herself and her stripes. And it was at this moment of deep anguish that our story really begins, with a zebra that seemed unable to bear it any longer, but was about to discover that help and hope might be closer than she imagined. Zara began to avoid social interactions more and more. She was afraid that others would notice her imperfect stripes and mock her. When the herd ran together, she stayed behind, pretending she needed to rest or was interested in something on the ground. Her friends, worried, asked what was happening, but Zara always made excuses, smiling forcefully to hide her anxiety. Trying to solve the problem alone, Zara began to develop strategies. She spent hours by a lake, using her reflection in the water to inspect her stripes. Sometimes, she used mud or leaves to cover the parts she thought were wrong, but nothing seemed to work. The more she tried, the more her despair increased. The dissatisfaction with her stripes was an endless cycle. Zara's loneliness grew. She stopped participating in the games and races she once loved so much. The time she spent alone intensified her obsessive thoughts, and the rituals to correct her stripes became more complex and time-consuming. Zara knew something was very wrong, but couldn't find a way out. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months. Zara felt increasingly trapped in her own mind. The nights were particularly difficult. While all the zebras slept, she remained awake, worried about what could be wrong with her stripes. On one of those nights, sitting alone under the vast starry sky, Zara looked at her reflection in a puddle. Tears rolled down her face, mixing with the water. She felt exhausted and hopeless, believing she would never find peace. It was then, amid this darkness, that Zara began to realize she could not continue alone. She needed help. But how? And from whom? This was the question that haunted her mind as she finally allowed herself to consider the possibility of seeking support beyond herself. It was in one of these moments of despair, as Zara once again distanced herself from the herd, that she met an old elephant named Elo. Elo was known for his wisdom and patience, always willing to listen and help anyone in the savannah. He noticed the sadness in Zara's eyes and slowly approached, offering a calming presence. "Hello, little zebra," Elo said softly. "I see you've been very alone lately. Would you like to talk?" Zara hesitated for a moment, but something in Elo's calm voice made her feel safe. With a deep sigh, she began to talk about her stripes and the torment they caused her. She spoke about the time she spent inspecting and trying to correct her stripes, and how this kept her away from others and the joy she once felt. Elo listened attentively, without interrupting, only nodding occasionally to show he understood. When Zara finished, he took a deep breath and said, "Zara, what you are describing is something many do not understand, but it is very real and painful for you. It's not something you can solve alone, and it's okay to admit that. Zara looked at Elo, feeling a mix of relief and fear. But what can I do? I've tried so much, but nothing works. Sometimes, Elo replied with a gentle smile, the best thing we can do is seek help from those who understand these problems. I know someone who can help you. She is a very wise owl named Olivia. She helps many animals with different problems and can teach you ways to deal with what you are feeling. Zara was thoughtful. The idea of sharing her problem with someone else made her nervous. But at the same time, she felt a small flame of hope. With a slight nod, she agreed, "Okay, Elo, I'm willing to try." Elo smiled, feeling proud of Zara's courage. "Great! Let's go to Olivia together tomorrow morning. You'll see that taking the first step toward help is the beginning of a great change." That night, for the first time in a long while, Zara managed to sleep with a bit of peace in her heart. She was still anxious about the future, but she knew she was no longer alone on her journey. The next morning, Zara and Elo headed to the large tree where Olivia the owl lived. The tree was majestic, with branches extending like welcoming arms. Olivia, with her deep eyes and soft feathers, greeted them with a gentle look and a welcoming nod. Elo explained Zara's situation, and Olivia listened with the same attention and patience. When Zara finished recounting her difficulties, Olivia smiled understandingly. "Zara, you are very brave for admitting your struggles and seeking help. Often, the first step is the hardest." Olivia began the therapy process with Zara, explaining that OCD was a condition that could be treated with patience and proper techniques. "We will work together so you can control these thoughts and rituals instead of letting them control you," Olivia said. In the following days and weeks, Zara attended regular sessions with Olivia. They practiced breathing and meditation techniques to help Zara calm down when she felt anxious. Olivia also taught coping strategies so Zara could challenge the obsessive thoughts about her stripes. At first, progress was slow, and Zara had moments of doubt and frustration. But with each small victory, she gained more confidence. Besides the relaxation techniques, Olivia encouraged Zara to reconnect with her friends and participate in the herd's activities. At first, Zara felt insecure, but gradually, with the support of her friends and Elo, she began to feel more comfortable. One afternoon, while the herd was running across the savannah, Zara found herself genuinely smiling for the first time in a long time. The stripes were still there, but now instead of seeing them as imperfections that needed fixing, Zara began to accept them as part of who she was. Olivia was always there to guide her and remind her that perfection didn't exist and that every zebra had its own unique stripes. Over time, Zara learned to see the beauty in her stripes, realizing they were exactly what made her special. The healing process was long and full of challenges, but Zara never felt alone. She had the support of Olivia, Elo, and her friends, and most importantly, she was learning to be kinder to herself. As time passed, Zara felt a profound change within herself. Although she still had difficult days, she now had the tools and support to deal with her worries. The sessions with Olivia became less frequent, but whenever Zara needed, the wise owl was there to help. One day, while Zara was running with her herd under the bright sun, she felt a pure joy she hadn't experienced in a long time. Her stripes, once a source of anguish, were now symbols of her journey and resilience. She stopped for a moment to admire the landscape around her and realized how much she had grown since she decided to seek help. Sitting by a stream, Zara reflected on all she had learned. She remembered Olivia's words about acceptance and the importance of being kind to oneself. Zara realized that her stripes, like her experiences, were part of who she was. They didn't need to be perfect to be beautiful. With a light heart, Zara decided to share her story with other members of the herd. She wanted them to know there was no shame in asking for help, and that sometimes true strength came from acknowledging our own vulnerabilities. Gradually, She became a source of inspiration for other animals facing their own internal battles. On a starry night, surrounded by her friends and family, Zara thanked Elo and Olivia for their help. "I wouldn't have made it without you," she said, her eyes shining with gratitude. "I've learned that we are not alone and that with support we can overcome anything." Elo smiled, and Olivia nodded, satisfied with Zara's progress. The zebra looked up at the sky, filled with stars, and felt a peace she never imagined possible. Her journey of self-discovery and acceptance had been long and challenging, but each step brought her closer to true happiness. Thus, Zara found a new purpose in her life: to help others find their own strength and beauty in their imperfections. And whenever someone in the savannah felt overwhelmed or desperate, they knew they could count on Zara, the zebra who faced her stripes and emerged stronger than ever. And so, Zara's story became a legend among the animals of the savannah, a reminder that even in the darkest moments, there is always a light waiting, as long as we have the courage to seek it.